Goten turning Super Saiyan so early at such a young age didn't make any sense to me. And I'll tell you why. Like, when you first see it, it comes off kind of cool. Like, oh, they're so young and they turn Super Saiyan so early. Look at the potential that they have. And unfortunately, they really didn't do much with Goten and Trunks as far as continuing on the legacy as to what I assume was the purpose. Nevertheless, the reason why I feel like it was manufactured or fake or it shouldn't have happened so early is because what we see from the other Super Saiyans, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and even in Broly, but I don't want to use Broly as an example because I think it has to do with the grind. I think there are several elements about becoming a Super Saiyan that are a must. And this is whether or not you are a purebred Super Saiyan or half Super Saiyan and half human. And those particular elements are training, high intensity training, be it gravity or sparring, and fighting, and to some extent losing, and recovery. So training, fighting, and recovery. Those are the elements that must exist when becoming a Super Saiyan and getting to that place. If we watch Goku over his entire life through Dragon Ball and into Dragon Ball Z, and you can say, yes, there's a lot of fighting and training and to some degree recovery in Dragon Ball, but it's absolutely accelerated once we get into Dragon Ball Z. And then you have Gohan, who then obviously enters into Dragon Ball Z as well. We meet him, and he has the same grind to turn into a Super Saiyan later on. Not the same as Goku, but a grind nonetheless. Very early age, he gets taken by Piccolo. We all know the story. He goes through training. He fights Saiyans and goes to Namek at an early age and is in front of villains like the Ginyu Force and Frieza and things of this nature. All those things contribute to him turning into a Super Saiyan later because they add to those elements: training, fighting, and recovery. This does not exist in Goten that I saw. Goten reminds me of, if you can relate to this, when you have siblings and sometimes they're spread out over a number of years and you're raised a certain type of way by the same mom, same dad, whatever, but they're a little bit more lazy raising that last one. And so there's a little bit more of a spoiled bratish type of feel from the younger child. Whether you're that younger child or not, it's a fact, and that happens. And that's the vibe I get from Goten. And that doesn't have nothing necessarily to do with his power. But when we talk about power and we talk about technique, like I was saying in the last video with Vegeta, there's some techniques that you can see and mimic, and there are some techniques that you have to be trained to do. Vegeta was able to just watch these guys adjust their power levels and detect power, and then he walked away being able to do it just by watching them. So he didn't need a scouter anymore. That's technique. But people watched Goku do instant transmission for years and nobody was able to duplicate it. That's a technique that needs to be trained. But power level is completely different. Your power level is your box, and you stay in that particular box, right? It's over 9,000. You stay in that particular box until you expand that box, and you expand that box as a Saiyan through, say it with me now, fighting, training, and recovery. I don't see that in Goten. Who did he fight? Who was he training with? And what recovery did he recover from, since he wasn't fighting nobody? Now, you can say that he was sparring with Trunks, okay, but Trunks ain't pushed him that far. You can say that he was sparring with Gohan, right? But even Gohan was surprised when he turned into a Super Saiyan. So even if they were sparring off screen, outside of that scene where he's throwing the rocks at him and then he turns into a Super Saiyan, even if they were sparring off screen, then he would have revealed that. I'm sure Gohan would have made quick work of him, and he would have been able to spar. I mean, he would have turned into a Super Saiyan, but that was the first time he did it. I don't see a train that leads him to turning into a Super Saiyan that early. I get that, Gohan probably turned into a Super Saiyan a lot earlier simply by being around Vegeta and Goku. Whereas like Goku might not have turned into a Super Saiyan. I get that there are emotional elements to it. You know what I'm saying? Goku probably wouldn't have turned into a Super Saiyan if Frieza hadn't killed Krillin. Vegeta might not have turned into a Super Saiyan had he not went and did mega work on himself off planet. I get all that. He might have the emotional element, but he don't come across like he has a heavy emotional element, even though it's part of his humanity. But I'm just saying, I don't see the track of those three elements I feel like we all can agree go along with being able to turn into a Super Saiyan. Where's the fights? Where's the serious training? Where's the hyperbolic chambers? And before he turned into it, we see it later, but before we first see him turning into a Super Saiyan, where are the fights? Where is the training? Where is the recovery? When was he in the hospital? When did he need sensu beams? When did he was barely hanging on? How many times we see Goku not even just die, but literally, you know what I'm saying, take himself to the point of almost death? He did that in the capsule on his way to Namek the first go round. He almost killed himself training. I don't see that in Goten. I feel like they pushed it along a little bit just because they didn't want him to have that long story. Gohan's story makes sense. Vegeta's story makes sense. Him popping up, yeah, it gives shock value, but it's not making any sense as far as power is concerned. Unless I'm wrong, hit me in the comments. Y'all will tell me. I know that. So